got some shadow stripes.
3, 2, 1. I'm live.
Okay. I'm trying to keep it from getting the road. Here we go.
Are you good?
Good.
All right. First, I'd like to thank everyone who has come down. We've got another good group down here today. We continued starting this morning with Hugh Gujian. I can't pronounce his last name. And we're going into the cross-examination. This is a guy who came down to protest and took pictures. He lived in Sandy, Utah. And so Tomasi gets up and talks about the speech on the 12th and that he went down to the wash to watch the cows get brought back. And he got into the back of a pickup truck to get there because they've been bringing up people in the back of pickup trucks a lot. He brought up the fact that you couldn't hear the loudspeaker, that it was broken up, and he realized that there was a potential for getting hurt by the BLM because the BLM were pointing weapons. And that he brought his gun with him but left it in the car, but he did bring it with him. Talked about how the FBI showed up at his home and his work because of an employee putting something out there, and that he got a lawyer and then continued that after that way. And they signed a property agreement before he met with the FBI that his words would not be used against him. So then Mark Casey got up there and said, so you believe the BLM were taking a task force to go get the cattle? You go into the watch and you see the prayer. Rifles were pointed at you. That's why you went behind the concrete barrier. He said, yes, BLM had rifles pointed at him. He went to the freeway and noticed the guys with the guns on the freeway. He was taking pictures and then realized he was the guys with the guns were in between him and the BLM and that he was in the line of fire. So then he goes back down. He brings up the crack in the barrier is very thin. Engel gets up and talks about the BLM talking on the loudspeakers, and people got worried, so that's when they had the prayer. People were worried that they were going to be hurt by the BLM, and they decided to have the prayer. And that's when, after he went under the bridge to take cover, he saw the BLM leave, he saw Metro arrive, and he was relieved. Leventhal goes up there and tries to enter his Facebook posts because they brought all these pictures in, but they didn't bring his commentary from his Facebook posts in. There was a lot of objections going back and forth there, and they did not allow his Facebook post to come in because it's his commentary on the days of the actions of the event, but his testifying is commentary on the actions of the event. So it's kind of weird how they wouldn't let his Facebook post in with that commentary. Then it was just brought up again that he believed he was going to be shot, and the people that were pointing guns at him for no reason were the BLM. Then it was brought up that they took stuff off his Facebook page that was no longer to be able to be seen on his Facebook page, and that he wrote general statements that were not on the photo that they did enter later. They entered one of his Facebook posts, and they had a portion of the picture cut off because he had written something on that portion of the picture, I believe.
Like a meme.
Yeah, well, yeah, something. He was asked if, on the way to the wash if he heard of a plan or anything. He said no. It seemed like everyone was on their own. No one directed him. What he saw on social media to get him there, they were trying to bring up the videos again, but that was objected to. Perez got up and once again brought up the comments on the photos and things that he had posted on Facebook. He talked about he did that when he got home from the trip, and it was personal observations of what he saw. He said there was no media in the wash, and he wanted to let people know what was going on. He was asked if he posted any impressions that he had at the time, and it was yes. Did you get a sense of why they were doing the things that they were doing? That was objected to, and he couldn't go into it. He did say that he felt threatened by the BLM that day. and he did not feel threatened by the men on the bridge. He did not, he said no, he did not get the feeling they would hurt anyone. So, he said, did you see anyone or hear anyone giving orders? No. Did you see anyone who was the boss of the people on the bridge? No. In the wash, he said the only guy that he saw was the guy that led the prayer. Other than that, no. Then they brought up Special Agent Mark Saylor, and he's been at the FBI over 21 years, and he is the guy from Montana. He is brought in pretty much, he's the Facebook monitor of Ryan Payne's Facebook, and Ricky Loveland and Jerry Burkhart. They bring up the OMA website page and pretty much read their entire website page, the beginning of it, their statements, their who, what, when, where, why, mission statement, all of that kind of stuff. Then they go in, you know, these are all objected to. First off, the MOA website page was put up way prior to the event. It doesn't have a lot of relevance. It doesn't have a lot of relevance to many of the people. I mean, there might be some relevance, like one person, Ricky. Some of the evidence was entered only against Ricky and not against everyone else. Others was against, put in against everyone. This one is not really talking much. They're showing Facebook posts from people. The first Facebook post is from Burkhart to Payne, possibly. Second posted by Payne, you know, their comments back and forth. Then they start bringing up actual Ricky Loveland's Facebook. Then they start bringing up people from Texas. They're, you know, they're bringing up other people's statements on Facebook. They bring up Carol Bundy and put her as a co-conspirator now. She is an unindicted co-conspirator, as well as anyone else that's been mentioned that's not in the indictment are now being said they are unindicted co-conspirators.
Who's saying that, the prosecutor or the judge?
The prosecutor, well, and the judge, because she's entering it as unindicted co-conspirators. So it's not just the prosecution, it's the judge. They're going in and they're saying, well, this statement goes to an unindicted co-conspirator.
Well, I thought the judge...
Can't say that?
Yeah.
She says 501-2-E or something like that, but she actually did slip up and say co-conspirator statements twice today. So did one of our lawyers also, though, so I don't know how that goes. They bring up Carol Bundy's posts. They're bringing up people's private messages. They're bringing up groups' private messages. So there's a group between a bunch of different militias from all these different states, and they're bringing up all of those. And each of the documents have a list of 200 people that it's sent to. Like, here's your list of 200 people, and there's like one comment that they're using out of this. We actually got to the end of it, and she allowed one piece of evidence in, and then at the end of the day she was like, well, I don't see, because they literally read one comment from the piece of evidence. It wasn't from Ricky. Ricky didn't respond to it. So she's saying, well, I don't see how you're saying that he even read this. He's on a group chat with a bunch of different people. He's supposedly driving at this time. She wants more evidence to see how this is actually going in and how it will continue to go in. At that point, that is when we left. They've mentioned probably like 8 to 10 new names, unindicted co-conspirators, based on chats and Facebook posts.
So the judge is saying that she wants more evidence on this?
She wants more evidence on how that pertains to Ricky, or how he actually, you could tell that he actually viewed this, because it's a group chat. I don't know, everyone's been in a group chat.
How can she be saying that stuff in open court in front of the jury?
She's guiding the prosecution.
Well, she can't do that.
Oh yeah, she can, but you know, she's doing it. Yeah.
So I'm not sure, yeah. She's saying that they need to prove that Ricky actually read or responded to this message, or else it's going to be stricken. Because they brought it in, but then they only read one message, and it wasn't Ricky that said it, and they're like, well, you need to prove that he said something or did something because of this message for it to be evidence. And so that's kind of where we left it at. The government was going to bring a bunch of stuff up and was asking for a little more time right after that was said, and that's when we decided to take lunch. We're all sitting there. The guy on the stand's not even talking except for to read someone's Facebook posts or these private message chats. Probably some of them are thinking, well, have I ever written something in a Facebook chat that if you were to read it out of context would be something like this? You know, they're all confused. We're all confused.
So boring.
Not a lot of things, you know, seem relevant to anything at this point.
It was kind of interesting today. I shared a post out there. Apparently, Facebook is coming to the rescue for protesters and demonstrators and going to start keeping Facebook data away from police and not allow it so easily.
And another thing that I noticed in there is it seems that they get a warrant for one person's Facebook page and one person's emails because they talk about how they have Ricky Loveland, Ryan Payne, and Jerry Burkhardt's email addresses all indicted, get the warrant for all of that. But then any email you send out that's like to 200 plus people, all of those people's information is in there. So does that give them an open door to those people's emails? It didn't really touch it inside, but you definitely see like they've got it into one person's group chat and there's a bunch of people in that group chat that they're now completely open to. Same thing for these group emails. So I don't know where that exactly stands, but it's convoluted and it's really confusing.
All right. Well, so what are we expecting this afternoon?
We're expecting a lot more Facebook. This guy's taking forever. I don't even know. This last piece of evidence they entered was like something like 200 pages long because each message underneath of it shows the vast amount of people who were responding or who were on the group chat. So every I agree has this giant list of everyone who was on the chat after that and then goes through. So they're picking and choosing one statement out of a 200-page document to read to the jury and then moving on.
And then accrediting it to 200 people.
No, and then crediting it to the group of 6 in the room that aren't even on that list of 200 people except for one. So it's just mind-boggling inside.
Well, thank you, Andrea. We'll get back with you this afternoon. Everybody will be doing an update after court somewhere around 4:30, 5 o'clock.